This is Twisted Passages with award-winning author Marie Sutro. Now, let's take a deep dive into the dark world of psychological thrillers and meet the authors who created them.
Hello, and welcome to Twisted Passages. I'm your host, Marie Sutro, and today we have the fabulous host of the Writer's Dossier podcast here to talk about the new anthology he's edited, Jeff Circle, and amazing author whose story is in the anthology, Mindy Carlson, who is a Silver Falchion nominated author. Welcome, you two.
Thank you.
I am so excited you are here. This is the first anthology I have highlighted on the show, and I couldn't have gotten a better one if I had gone through my entire wish list for years. This is absolutely the perfect one. So thank you both.
Oh, you're welcome.
Can you start listeners off with an overview of what the anthology is about, Jeff, and kind of give us an idea for where the inspiration came and how it all came together?
Absolutely. Marie, thanks for having us on. It's so great to be on Twisted Passages and to finally see you. I feel like this should be like one of those M&M commercials where they come down the stairs and Santa's down there under the tree and they say, oh, he does exist, because you and I have crossed paths and we've missed each other everywhere we go. I missed you in Denver and I'm like texting you like, where are you? I can't find you. And then New Orleans, everywhere we go, we haven't seen each other. So I just want to say thanks for having us on.
Like I said, I'm thrilled you're here. And yeah, that goes both ways. Seeing your socials pop up and be like, oh, wait, he was in that hall. I was in that hall.
I was just there. I know. Yeah. Well, thanks for talking about Myopic Duplicity. I'm so glad you liked it, because I feel the same way about anthologies. You know, I don't have them on my show either, but this one, obviously I'm involved in it, but it's so cool because I came up with this idea a long time ago about wanting readers to fall in love with the bad guy, or at least walk a mile in their shoes, understand where they're going from, and kind of see what Eli Cranor says in the foreword: when life gets its hooks into you, what happens when that happens? And if you already like that person, that character, that antagonist, and then they go do something bad, wow. Then the reader is really stuck in the middle. It's like, oh, wow, I see why she did that, or I understand why he was that way, but he did what? And, you know, and so who are you going to identify? So for the reader, it's so, I don't want to say it makes you think like in a homework way, but it will set you back. And especially Mindy's story. So that's a whole nother story, but we'll get to that. And I can't wait. Myopic duplicity. I started using that term just myself, going out into the world and outside of my house, and all the people I ran into were just doing stupid things. And I'm like, well, you'll say one thing, but you'll do something else. And it's selfish and duplicitous. So I used to just call people duplicitous. That's duplicitous. You know, I'd have my fancy professor hat on and use a $10 word. But then I discovered myopic, and I'm like, I got to put those together. So that's what we did. We had 16 amazing stories put in here, and I can't wait to talk about Mindy's.
So Mindy, can you tell us a little bit about your story that you contributed?
My story is about a woman pushed too far by her husband. She goes to Reddit to ask AITA for using my husband's hobby to teach him a lesson. Like Jeff said, she's pushed to the brink and life gets her hooks into her, and she makes some decisions that probably she should not be making, but she does. And then she goes to Reddit, as one does, to ask, did I go too far?
and that question, Mindy, you dealt with it so beautifully in your story, but kind of pulling the lens back to what Jeff had mentioned at the beginning, Eli Cranor's foreword. Oh my goodness. I encourage everyone. I read the book, but I also listened to Eli's foreword. I encourage everyone to listen to that as well, because, oh my goodness, the last sentence of that foreword really is one of those that does what all great art does. It chills you and it stops you. Whatever's going on in your life, it stops you and it makes you think, wow, who am I and what am I?
I got that on audio. Eli sent it to me and I sent it to Mindy because I had goosebumps. I'm like, oh my God. Eli Cranor, folks. I've said this for a long time, is amazing. And he crushed it in this forward. So I'm glad you enjoyed it, Marie.
Well, we start with Eli, and then every author that you chose, every story you chose, Jeff, it was so well done. You just played it out like the best Old West poker dealers, card after card. You made us confront things that we don't always confront. Things about ourselves, things about human nature, what we're capable of. And really, I felt like this anthology played out in many ways analogous to the old morality plays we used to watch on TV, right? Like Twilight Zone and things like that, that would get us in this over the top, intense situation and then make us wonder, wait, who are these characters really? And who am I?
Yeah.
How did that come about for you, the artistry of weaving these together? And how did you get so many awesome authors like Mindy on board and delivering at that level?
Yeah, Jeff.
How did I do that? Well, bribery. So Mindy and I were together at Left Coast Crime in Denver this year. And I went to a reading and it was wonderful. It's this amazing bookstore there. And Mindy got up and read her story. It was a little over 4,000 words, maybe a little less.
Oh, no, it was 1,500 words.
At the beginning?
Yep.
Oh my God. So this is the genius of Mindy Carlson, folks, author of the award nominated Her Dying Day. I'm listening to the story and everyone in the room just stopped. And I mean, there was laughter, there was gasping, there was applause that her story was that good. And so I went to Mindy and I said, I'm doing an anthology and I need your story. It's that amazing. Her eyes said, what? But I think something inside said yes. But then I asked her, it's like, can you do something amazing for me? Can you take it from 1,500 words to 8,000 or 4,000? And she did. And she added in just the most wonderful stuff because I listened to the story and then I read what she sent. And I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And while we were there, Rob Hart's in the audience, the Rob Hart, author of The Warehouse, Assassins Anonymous, all this Medusa. He's amazing. I said, Rob, I've got you in the corner here. Come on. I really want your story, whatever it is. He's like, he looked at me and I said, man, I know you're in the middle of a launch and I know you're writing a book with another person right now, but come on. And he said, I actually have had a short story rolling around in my head. And I'm like, get it out. And he did. That's where I got a couple of the stories. And not to go too long here, but I've got to recognize, have to recognize these amazing people. And I'll just go alphabetical. This isn't the order of the anthology, but Eric Beetner has written like 30 books. C.B. Bernard's amazing. C.W. Blackwell, 5-time Derringer nominee, 2-time winner. I mean, who can say that? Wes Brown is incredible. Our own Mindy. Anthony nominated. Ash Clifton wrote a banger. Libby Cudmore, everybody knows Libby. She's amazing. Victor Deonda, the Aaron Flanagan won the Edgar for best debut novel. Rob Hart, like we said. Terrence McCauley can write anything. Matt Phillips, Emmy Proctor is the queen of anthologies and short stories. C. Matthew Smith, Christopher Swan was Georgia Writer of the Year, 2-time nominated, and Tony Wirt. So right there is an amazing list of authors, and they wrote their stories knowing that it would be made into an audiobook. What an amazing list. I love these guys, all of them.
It really is a dream team because it had me all over the place. It had me questioning long-held beliefs about myself, the people around me, how I fit into the world. And that kind of dovetails. I wanted to ask Mindy, I mentioned morality plays. You gave us something that was really brilliant. That setup that she's posting it as a Reddit thread, you're already forcing our opinions because you're asking for them. Where did that idea come from? That was brilliant.
I was reading a lot of the True Off My Chest and the AITA Reddit threads, and they were either women posting, my boyfriend is saying that he's going to lock me out of the house and set fire to the house and like take all my things, and I'm lucky to have him. And I told him to get out, and now my friends are saying I overreacted. Did I overreact? And it's like, no. And then the opposite, the guy is like, well, she burnt dinner, so I threw it across the room, and I feel like she's overreacting, but she says I'm the jerk, and I can't possibly be the jerk, right? If you have to write it out and you can't see it, there's really no helping you. But then I sort of gender flipped it, where she's the one is going to extremes because she feels threatened. He's doing things, and he's a jerk too in this whole scenario. Nothing is great about this coupling. so that's kind of where I was, and I was like, it would be amazing to do a short story in this mode of like a Reddit thread, and then updates, and then updates, and then updates. And when I originally wrote it, I did write it as a 3,000 word piece. And then I was asked to do this reading, and I had a hard 5-minute limit. It's a minute per page is the usual speaking tone of things. And 1,500 words is like 5 pages, 4.5 pages, 5 pages. And so I cut it from 3,000, like 3,300 to 1,500 words. And Jeff was in the audience and heard it and said, I got to have this in there. And so I pumped it up to 8,000, little over 8,000, like 8,800 words. And actually, Rob Hart gave me one of the best compliments I've ever gotten. He said, I'm so mad I didn't think of this myself.
It was amazing that you did, because again, it caused us to not just sit back as the reader and have our personal opinions, but it pulled us out of our shell that we really want to tell your protagonist what we think. Like, I want to call this girl and be like, honey, we need to go for coffee. We need to talk about this man. We need to talk about what's going on.
Yeah, it's like, let's pump the brakes, shall we? Let's think. And I think that's actually one of the brilliant things about the whole anthology is it does kind of like pull you along. You can really see their point of view and where they're coming from, and you can see the moment of too far, but they're all written in such a way that the protagonist can't see, like they only see it as the natural next step. It's all or nothing. And they're all done in different flavors. Like you have horror, you have straight up mystery, you've got thriller. Mine's like a blend of horror, like thriller comedy. You're getting the best of every genre inside of the anthology from all of these different people.
In your lineup, Jeff, you start off with Rob Hart and you bookend with CW's story. And just like Mindy said, you give us everything, but you keep testing us and you keep making us wonder, is my moral compass aligned? And by the end of it, I was wondering, should I have a moral compass? What's influencing my moral compass? I wanted to ask a little bit about your background, Jeff, which is so varied and so incredible. You mentioned seeing the world and using the word duplicity a lot. Are there things based on your path, because you've walked a kind of different path than a lot of folks have. You've done a lot of things and you've seen human beings at their extreme push in many places, I would say. Did that influence this?
Yeah, absolutely. Because of the things that I have seen, the places that I lived and the things I've had to go through. I started off in the Army as a intelligence guy, like a lot of veterans now, went off to war and experienced all that. And I became a federal investigator. So I've questioned and interviewed hundreds of people. And then I went into counterintelligence and I deployed overseas to Afghanistan and did a polygraph type thing with people over there. So yeah, I've seen a lot. And if anyone out there is familiar with the Myers-Briggs personality assessment, I'm an INFJ, and which means I'm kind of an introvert and I kind of go off my gut and I feel things and I'm judgy. So that whole combination, it just happens to be, when you answer the questions in the personality assessment, they give you the answers, and I'm compassionate too. And so when you combine all of that with an artistic wedge, you observe the things in the world around you. I know Rob Hart does it, Mindy does it, we all do it. And then it filters through your personality and your experiences. Something comes out and it's all different. Everyone is different. And that's what these stories are so great, because I personally recruited these individual stories. No one submitted and then I selected. I wouldn't do that. I'd hate to turn somebody down because there's so many great writers out there. I mean, Marie, you've got to be in an anthology that I do someday. But I picked people who I knew were amazing. And they did. They came through in a really weird way of everyone having a different angle. And so far, the reception has been great. People have loved exactly what you said. And about Mindy's story, the Meg Cobb bestselling author out there, Hunting Wives, is one of the biggest things, was awestruck by the ingenious storytelling. The award-winning Holly West did the one from San Diego for BoucherCon. She said, the best crime stories challenge our own convictions, and Myopic Duplicity hits the mark every time. That's what these 16 writers did. It's amazing.
With each story, especially Mindy's, I had to keep asking the question over and over again. And now that I have both of you in front of me, I can ask both of you, what makes us good or bad people? Jeff, you mentioned judgment, and that we judge people, we judge ourselves. What makes us good or bad? And does that metric move over time or with circumstance?
Wow. Morals philosophy, graduate level edition here. Ring a bell. That's a really good question, because I think there are two rules. There's an internal, where am I in my life, and am I making progress in the right direction? But what is the standard? What is the common accepted level of things? Things like holding a door open for somebody, or we just ignore that. Does that make you a good person or a bad person? I don't know. It's courteous. It's common sense. But when it comes to the stories in this anthology, those are heavy questions. When it comes to the specific examples, some people would say it depends on where you are in your journey and how well you're doing and how much you're trying. And I would say, well, you started down here and you're still not there yet. And these stories all end up with somebody doing something bad. And it's bad at a common everyday outdoor level, not just, is it bad to me? But you read these and you're like, wow, it's a little bit of a conundrum. Would you do what Mindy's female character did in this book? I don't know. You got to read it and find out.
How about you, Mindy? Do you think people are always good or always bad? Do you think that metric for judging people moves based on the situations they're in?
I think there is a social contract that we have, and you have to take that versus your personal stake. There are also is it altruistic? Is it totally selfish? Is there a certain thing that it's for the greater good? So it's part of that societal contract. It's like 100 shades of gray. And that's why we have a jury of our peers to say, or a jury of Reddit to say, did I go too far? Do I have reparations to make? But yeah, so I think it's societal contract versus personal stake.
And Mindy, we heard a little bit about Jeff's background and kind of how it influenced his decision to want to take on an anthology like this. Is there anything in your writing journey or your background that kind of influenced? I mean, I hope there's not any relationship quite as dysfunctional in your past.
She loves gardening.
I have a friend who is getting divorced right now, and there is something from her divorce in that story.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
So did you tell her?
She knows. She's okay. She's like, carte blanche, babe. Here you go.
She said that.
I have pictures to back it up.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where a couple of those things came from real life. A couple of them are, sort of cliche with a twist, but it's all very much how far would you go to protect the most important thing in your life, which is, I think, a common theme in many of the stories in the anthology. Certainly Rob Hart's. How far would you go to protect the thing that's the most precious to you? There's nothing in my personal history that would do this, but I certainly do take from friends with their permissions for some of the absolute craziest stuff. Because the craziest stuff isn't what you can think of. The craziest stuff is what has happened in real life. And then your editor says, you can't put that in there. No one will believe it's true.
Yeah.
Life imitating art.
It happened, really.
There's a one scene in there that is from real life. The names have been changed to protect the innocent, I guess. Innocent. Yeah. Well, both of them are alive. I will say this.
Mindy, you said cliche with a twist. I don't want people to take that the wrong way, because there has to be something that people can identify with. And when my wife read your story, or she listened to it on the audiobook, she's like, well, that hits close, because she knows someone who went through some of those same things. So they're cliche, but
well,
they have to be.
I guess
it has to be
a
common.
better word is identifiable. It's universal experience.
Exactly.
A universal experience that we all share throughout our society. We know somebody who's experienced this, so that brings our reader closer to the book. They can identify emotionally. They can feel the feelings that the protagonist is having, which is what makes these stories really successful, is because you can identify with the emotional beats, even though you know that each of these people are going to make a terrible decision.
It's so relatable, and people will be able to identify with either the husband or the wife. I mean, this story is for everybody, and that's why people went nuts in Denver when you read it.
Oh yeah, it was heavily applauded.
I'll give you my applause now.
Yes.
And it actually got me my narrator. The fact that the story was so relatable and so good, Hillary Huber said she wanted to read it for me.
Wonderful. The one little quick last question I want to get in, maybe kind of an observation dovetailing into a question. One of the things I thought about as I finished the last pages was there has been this dynamic, certainly over all three of our lifetimes, where social media has gotten people to really, really have this trigger mentality where we're all judge, jury, and executioner, and it happens within a split second. It can happen with an image, it can happen with a sentence, it can happen with an allegation, whatever it is. And I thought about how important in many ways this anthology is for all of us, because it does make you take a deep breath and say, yeah, I could judge everybody else, but am I really getting to the nature of what Mindy alluded to with the jury of our peers? Am I really trying to relate to them as another human being and understand what they're doing? Or am I just saying, oh, you're wrong, and walking away? And is that fair of us? Is that helping us grow as a species?
That's incredibly deep in internet. Like, that's deeper than I was thinking. I was thinking, let's go for the funny. But because that's my default. But no, I mean, it is especially important right now in the way that we're relating to each other in our society. It's really important to do the whole walking a mile in their shoes and trying on these other situations to work out our empathy muscle. It makes us more united as a humanity, and as a country, as a world, globally. We have to be able to see things through other lenses, or we're never going to grow together. We're only going to stay apart.
Yeah, that was a big part about why I laid out the guidelines the way I did with all the authors. I said, good people doing bad things and make them likable, because that's all of us. I mean, we're good people. Generally, everyone out there is generally good. There are a lot of bad people. I've seen my share, but I think everyone's trying, and people could judge what they do wrong. But if we give them a chance and see what they're going through, this anthology should entertain. Like Mindy said, there's some funny moments in this, and so that's good. That keeps you reading. But at the same time, just hey, let's all just try to get along. But I wanted people to understand that there's a lot of duplicity out there, and it's not fair and it's not right. People doing the wrong things, obviously. But I don't know where I'm going with that. But yeah, it is deep. I wasn't ready for that. Sorry. Her Dying Day by Mindy Carlson.
You want to talk about people doing the wrong things? Let me tell you, my hero in that book is doing all of the wrong things. But it is like people doing the wrong things, but at the same time, you can understand why they feel like that's their only decision to make.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, everyone's rooting for what happened in your book.
Oh yeah, I've got a lot of fans now.
So, as any dude who shows up in a man bun like that, and all of a sudden,
right.
Lots of flannel.
Lots of flannel, more flannel than at Lilith Fair.
That's what you said in your story.
That's in the story.
You'd get this anthology for Mindy's story, but don't forget about all the other great ones too. I mean, it's just so fun. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. As I said, I started on the floor with Eli's intro, and I just, sorry to make us go a little deep there, but it took me deep. Starting off with Rob's story and kind of not letting us go with a lot of stuff that even, you know, Mindy, you injected humor into that, but those dynamics, relationship dynamics, play out for us. They play out for those we love. We have a sight when we're not in it. The people who are in it have that gut and that emotion and that response. And I just, wow, this one just hit me and hit me hard. So thank you both. It was an absolute joy to read this.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much for loving it.
And thank you all for joining us on this episode of Twisted Passages. We hope to see you next time.